بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We're starting in our third khatma, but tonight is the 20th of Ramadan. Tomorrow is actually we're finishing the second khatma, so we're kind of intertwining the first and the second. We did that, we do intertwining the second and the third. So today we started the third khatma, tomorrow we're doing the completion. One reason is because we want the most number of people to have the ability to attend the khatma, as reported from the Sahaba, that they used to seek whoever did khatma and they would gather. Even if they didn't attend the majority of the recitation, they would attend the night in which the Quran was completed, because كان يرون أن البركة تتنزل عند خلق القرآن. They used to see that, they used to believe that they would, anyone who was present in the day, in the time when they were doing the khatma, they would receive barakah, they would get their blessings that much needed in these days, as reported by Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anh, and Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, that he used to gather his family and his relatives, extended, and even his servants, slaves, everyone that he could have reached to, invite them over on the night that he's making a khatma every time, even though if they didn't attend. So that's the reason why tomorrow, Saturday night, we'll be having our khatma, inshallah ta'ala, second khatma here at Musalla al-Sharif, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So invite people that you love, bring them over, inshallah ta'ala. We also recited most of what's left, so inshallah ta'ala will be an easier khatma, inshallah ta'ala, of the last two juz, perhaps, right? Alhamdulillah, Allah yasir. Tonight, the topic I wanted to talk about was pertaining to the 20th of Ramadan. It's an important topic. If somebody tells you you have two choices, you have two options. Would you like to get 90% chance of catching Laylatul Qadr every year, or 100% chance of catching Laylatul Qadr every year? Which one would you choose? Which one would you be willing to risk? What's your risk tolerance? Can we afford losing Laylatul Qadr in any year of our years that we are able to worship Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, during Ramadan? The answer is absolutely. There's no room to leave it for chances. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man qama Laylatul Qadri imanan wa ihtisaban, غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ." Whoever prayed the night of Laylatul Qadr with faith and anticipation, all of their sins will be forgiven. This is no question, this is a guarantee. And whoever prayed every single night of the last 10 nights of Ramadan guarantees to have prayed Laylatul Qadr, one of them. Because the Prophet ﷺ says, هِيَ فِي الْعَشْرِ الْأَوَاخِرِ فِي Ramadan. It is, Laylatul Qadr lies in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. So where is the issue? The issue of contention here, most people seem to forget about, is that those last 10 nights of Ramadan are not equal to saying the third 10 nights of Ramadan. If the Prophet ﷺ says seek them in the third 10 nights of Ramadan, then there's be no difference that the third 10 will begin from the 21st. So, first 10 ends on the 10, second 10 ends on the 20th, a third 10 starts on the 21st, ends on the 30th. And if Ramadan was 29 days, well, hard luck, we just had 9 last days of Ramadan instead of last 10 days. But the reality is that the ulama have specifically talked about this, that when Ramadan is 29 days, do we lose one of the last 10 nights? They said no. They said no, not because they would like to, because they base their rulings on the dalil of the Quran and of the Sunnah, of what the Sahaba understood, what the statements, what the ijma' of the Ummah. They understood it, that the Prophet ﷺ said so, that they are the last 10 nights. That term is preserved. They're going to be the last 10 nights. Whether Ramadan is 30 days or Ramadan is 29 days, the last 10 nights are the nights in which Laylatul Qadr is part of. The last 10 nights is where the Prophet ﷺ used to do i'tikaf. There's an important concept we are not familiar with. We have calendars. We see the time in a linear way. We count every month from the beginning of the month. an important concept that if you read history books, Islamic history books, you will find biographies, you will find battles, any historical event. You'll find that the Arabs are accustomed to count the first half of the month from the beginning of the month, the second half of the month from the end of the month. They would say this person was born in the 5th last night of Rajab. This person passed away in the 9th remaining night of Sha'ban. When they look at the second half of the month, they count down. They count up until 15 days. This is common before Islam and during Islam, throughout Islamic history. If you read any Islamic history book, you will find this very common in siyar, in biographies, as we said. So when it comes to Ramadan, when the Prophet ﷺ described that these are the last 10 nights, this is not a new concept. Because people, when they count in the last half of the month, they always count beginning from the end of the month. And this gives you space to understand, that they have that much technology, that they're able to calculate ahead of time to know when the month ends? No, they didn't. That's why they place things, the month ends, and then they date things backwards. They look at when the month ends, and they're like, okay, this was the last night of the month, or the second last night of the month, after the month has ended. And so this adds you an element of suspense, an element of vagueness, an element that we know that Laylatul Qadr is ambiguous. And this is an element that contributes, that explains part why Laylatul Qadr is ambiguous, or has been left to be ambiguous, is because we don't know which last 10 nights of the month if the month is 29 or 30th. We will not know until the month is over. There's no question that the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, the 21st, all the way to the 29th, these are among the last 10 nights. But if the month ends with 30 days, then the last 10 nights has begun from the 21st of Ramadan and ended on the 30th. But if the month of Ramadan ended on 29 days, it means that the last 10 nights began on the 20th of Ramadan. And it ended on the 29th. And I said, let's do this very simple arithmetic activity. You got 10 fingers. You say 29th, if the month is 29. 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20th. So the first of the last 10 nights is 20th. That's an important realization. Do you want to take chances that the crescent is seen and the month turns out to be 29 days, and you're like, I only prayed the last 9 days of Ramadan. I will never know if I caught. Do you want to live with that? Is it worth making that risk of missing Laylatul Qadr? 1,000 months. That's more than the adult lifetime of most Muslims would ever live. More than 80 years of worship. More than 80 years of worship in a single night. It's not worth missing it. And it's only over a difference of one night, which is tonight, right? So it's a very important concept. The second really important concept I want to talk about today, and we're going to come back to this concept 5 times, maybe 4, 5 times, which is, what is an odd night? If we understand that the last 10 nights can begin from the 20th, or can begin from the 21st, then it comes back to understanding the term. When the Prophet ﷺ says, "Iltamisuha fi tasi'atin tabqa," and the hadith in Sahih Muslim, seek Laylatul Qadr in the 9th remaining night of the month. طيب, if the month is 30 days, let's do it. Arithmetics, huh? 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23rd, 22nd. That's the 9th. 22nd is the 9th. The 9th remaining night is not an odd night in the counting from the beginning of the month. If the month was 30 days, if the 9th remaining night would be the 22nd. You think this is an even night, but it isn't, because the month was 30 days, and you're counting the 30th as an odd number, the last remaining night. صح? Similarly, if you're counting from the beginning of the month like we do, and the 20th was the first of the last 10, the month was 29 days. So the first of the last 10 would be the 20th. So the first of the night of the last 10 is the 20th. That's an even number, but it's the first. That's an odd number, صح? It's an ordinal odd number. So the third night of the last 10 would be 20th, 21st, 22nd. So the fifth night of the last 10 would be 24th. So the seventh night would be 26th. And then 28th would be the ninth night. So if the month is 29 days. So that would dispel the myth of, well, the Prophet ﷺ said, seek it in the odd days. Why should I even bother pray the even days? Because you don't know which ones are the odd and which ones are the even until the month is over. Why risk it? Why risk it? This is an objective that the Prophet ﷺ said, Nusituha, I was made to forget which night was specific. And this was benefit for the ummah. Benefit for the ummah. So that you can do your best. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the Prophet ﷺ says, loves to hear the servant pleading to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Loves to see the servant without. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, pretend it's 10 nights. Do your best. Think that tonight is the night of Laylatul Qadr. And tomorrow is the night of Laylatul Qadr. And the day after. Do the best you can. Not one night in the year. Do it 10 nights of the year. And that is very minimal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a right upon us to say, worship your best all night, every night of your life. Because He created us. He's saying, do your best. There's one night of the year. And it has been made ambiguous. So seek it in every one of those last 10 nights. And that is an important last lesson. This is the third and the last lesson. Is that the Prophet ﷺ, when he said that he was made to forget it, this is a divine command. Forgetting Laylatul Qadr was a divine command that was done with wisdom. It was not, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, shortcoming from the Prophet ﷺ. Allah decreed that it is to be forgotten. And so a lesson from this, the ulama say that a person who sees every sign of Laylatul Qadr and has a fact that this night that just passed was Laylatul Qadr, should not, ought not, and should not, and must not tell it to other people. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that it is Laylatul Qadr. If you tell it to other people, well, it's one of two things. Either they missed it and they're like, why should I pray anymore? You've already seen Laylatul Qadr. Alright, there's no khalas. Ramadan's over. Bye bye, see you next year. And you give them, you make them lose hope. Or, if they did pray it, they're like, haha, I caught Laylatul Qadr. Why should I pray more? In both cases, you bring them harm. And so whoever receives knowledge or becomes aware, sees the signs, becomes aware that last night or this night is Laylatul Qadr, let them keep it to themselves. The ulama said, similar to what the karamat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent to the awliya and the salihin, that it is meant to be something that's kept in secret, not to be publicized. So these are the three lessons. The first is that tonight, the 20th, can be Laylatul Qadr. And in fact, it can be an odd night if the month is ish. That's the only way. If the month is 29 days, then not only it would be Laylatul Qadr, it would be an odd night. It would be a very likely to be Laylatul Qadr. And the second thing we said is to understand the counting of the nights can be seen from the beginning of the month or the end of the month. Every night could be odd. We will not know until the end of Ramadan. In fact, even if Ramadan is over, depending on whether you count from the end of the month or from the beginning of the month, the counting will alternate and will, depending on if it's 29th or 30th, it will always be that this count and this count will not match. And one of them is going to be odd nights from this side, and the others, the even nights, will be odd nights from the other side. So there's always going to be rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for you to do ijtihad in every single night of these nights. Okay? And the last thing is to understand that if it becomes to you that this night is meant to be kept in secret, because the Prophet ﷺ did not, there's no prize for discovering Laylatul Qadr. The prize is for seeking it in every night. التمسوها في العشر الأواخر من رمضان. The act of worship, the command is الالتماس, is searching, is doing your best every night of the last 10, whether or not you find it. You keep praying in every one of the last nights, because that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded. That's the objective. That's why the ambiguity has happened, is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see of us some effort in the end of this race, this retreat, a spiritual retreat, that's Ramadan. And he said, the Salaf used to say that, the horses, as they come to the end of the race, you'll see them even stretching their necks a tiny bit, a tidbit extra, just to win that race. Those last 10 days, you just give that extra final push, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala maybe sees some sincerity in your heart and my heart, and accepts from us and forgives us every sin that you have committed. Every sin we have committed. Man qama Laylatul Qadr. Again, imanan, with faith, humility, sincerity, and anticipation, wahtisaban, an anticipation that you're not grunting and mumbling and oh, I'm hungry, I'm tired, you're doing it because, Ya Allah, I'm doing this because I'm anticipating so much reward. There's so much reward out of this. Ahtasibu inda Allah. You're doing it with hopefulness, with optimism, that I am going to pray every night, and therefore I am going to catch Laylatul Qadr. غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. بارك الله لي لكم. تقبل الله منا ومنكم. وإن شاء الله تعالى we'll resume بإذن الله after 5 minutes of a break. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.